basically, we've been working to increase the number of prescribed burn associations across the state. I think we're up to 14 now. We have 3 regional coordinators. We just recently added one, and we're looking to add another one in the eastern part of Kansas. We have been able to come to our agreement on equipment with the Forestry Service, which has helped a lot of our local burn associations. Several of those have already gotten pieces of equipment that they've utilized for their local PBAs, and we still have a couple of other ones that are looking at adding some equipment too. There have been a couple that have gotten some grants, both because of the wildfires that Oklahoma has so graciously been sending up to us to help with our burn efforts. We've got a lot of area burnt in the last couple of years. That's pretty much it. We're still moving forward. Everybody's kind of getting coordinated. We did recently hire an executive director to help do the things that I usually put off doing, so that's been very beneficial. And we're just kind of moving forward, and hopefully things will keep rolling.
I've just got a few notes here on Prescribed Burn Alliance of Texas. We're an association of associations. We are growing slowly. In the last year, we've added 2 new associations that recently formed and joined the Alliance. We do have a Facebook page, but it doesn't have a lot of activity on it because there's just not many people posting stuff on it very often. We are continually working on issues related to liability for members of prescribed burn associations and trying to work with state legislatures to get some of those issues resolved. We're also trying to work with state and federal agencies that are interested in prescribed fire to develop a more comprehensive plan for fire within the state of Texas.
The Nebraska Prescribed Fire Council is a landowner-led coalition of landowners and prescribed fire practitioners with about 750 members across the state and growing. The council aims to promote the safe and responsible use of prescribed fire and act as an advocate for those who currently use or want to use prescribed fire to manage their land. These objectives are realized through a series of partnerships and programs designed to help educate the public on the importance of fire, the implementation of workshops and training, and through the practice of using safe prescribed burn techniques. Nebraska has been very busy burning. In fact, did everybody see that giant smoke plume on last Saturday near Lincoln? Oh, never mind, that was the Nebraska football program going up in smoke. In all seriousness, unlike Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, we continue to win in Nebraska. From a fire department. We continue to grow by adding more resource professionals to assist in prescribed fire trainings, PBA development, and getting fire on the ground. We continue to add more landowners wanting to burn. We continue to add PBAs. We continue to add more equipment. We continue to add more landowner leaders fighting for their rights to use fire to manage their ground. And we continue to add researchers to help us learn more about the systems we manage with fire. We continue to do more burning. This year, we saw a pretty slow start to our spring burn season, but picked up toward the later part of April. Many were able to reach their goals of getting fire on the ground this year. One benefit of the slow start this year was that we have started to move the needle a little bit in Nebraska with implementing fires in different times. We saw fires being conducted in May this year, in July, August, September. We had a really wet summer, so that inhibited quite a bit. According to new research, we can now easily track region cedar tree invasions, and we had 2 PBAs in the Lusk Canyons BUL that have done so much burning in their area that scientists now consider an area, that burn priority area, stabilized from cedar invasion. Drac will be talking more about that soon. We continue to build on and create new partnerships, landowners, nonprofits, multiple local, state, and federal agencies acting as one to get more fire on the ground including bringing in new partners. We continue to advance with our outreach and education efforts, holding workshops, tours across the state, increasing PIREC knowledge of landowners and resource professionals alike. In about 2 months, we are going to be holding our 6th annual Prescribed Fire Conference, where we're expecting a crowd of about 200 people. One of the big things that happened in the past month or so is that, and the Fire Council had a very strong showing at, was at a Nebraska State Senate hearing regarding LR 387. This was a hearing designed to look at the impacts of eastern red cedar to the state. And as everyone in this room is keenly aware, fire is critical to maintaining the Great Plains grasslands. The Fire Council landowner leadership stepped up to the plate to show support for prescribed fire much more effectively than any state or federal agency could have. Landowners elect these people. Government agencies do not. Here's a quote from a Fire Council member to that committee on that day. Our organization does not want to be here in another 25, 50 years in front of another panel of senators being asked questions as to why we were burning more, why the barriers were not broken down years before it was too late. So let us begin now, moving forward together, because this is a problem for all Nebraskans. What will we tell our children, our grandchildren, and future Nebraskans what we did after this day to prevent the last parcel of prairie from being swallowed up by this tree? Will we tell them that we failed to take this opportunity to support and increase the use of prescribed fire? What will our legacy be after today? I could talk all day about Nebraska or fire or the Great Plains, but I will spare you all and end this. So thank you.
I want to talk about the Oklahoma, or report on what's going on in Oklahoma, or some of the things anyway. Don't have time to mention everything. The Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association is what I'm going to focus on most, and wanted to thank all of our partners. With everything that we've been able to do with Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association is largely in part to the support of our sponsors, the National Wild Turkey Federation, the Nature Conservancy, Quail Forever, Oklahoma Conservation Commission, the Oaks and Prairies Joint Venture, Oklahoma State University, Noble Research Institute, NRCS, and then many individuals. And so we're very fortunate here in Oklahoma that we've got a really good network of support about getting prescribed fire implemented throughout Oklahoma. Recently, the Natural Resources Conservation Service awarded the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association a state grant of $250,000 spread out over 5 years. And so we got to work really quick about getting those monies implemented. We're very fortunate to be able to receive that grant, and our game plan is to hire a minimum of 4 regional coordinators, and then we're going to try to pay up to 10 local Prescribed Burn Association coordinators too. And those local Prescribed Burn Association people are people like we all know. They spend a lot of time volunteering their time to try to coordinate these local Prescribed Burn Association activities with burning and that sort of thing. So we wanted to try to be able to compensate them for their time, and hopes to be able to increase the amount of prescribed fire that we're getting on the landscape through those active associations. These coordinators will work on all aspects of prescribed fire with landowners primarily, of course, but also members within their local Prescribed Burn Associations, rural volunteer fire departments. I think Steve mentioned something about that earlier, about that importance, and we're going to try to focus on that here in Oklahoma more than we have ever, to try to get the word out about the benefits of prescribed fire. NRCS staff and other partners staff too throughout the state through collaborative trainings and workshops primarily. But also these coordinators will help landowners and others with writing burn plans. That seems to be one of the biggest hurdles that landowners particularly think that they have, is creating a burn plan. Working on fire breaks, smoke management issues, that's another big thing that we're going to try to focus on as well with these organizations and landowners. We're going to have, with these, especially the regional coordinators, we're going to have assistance with conducting prescribed burns on a local basis by the having these regional coordinators present. And then lastly, but not least for sure, is to form additional local prescribed burn associations throughout the state. And then, of course, with those other partners that I've mentioned, we've also been able to receive some financial contributions from them, which will also supplement these activities throughout the state. So, next thing I wanted to do is talk about our, does that say, is that the local, I've got it right here. Wanted to introduce our regional coordinators, and I know some of these guys are here. Seth Coffey. I wanted to have, Seth, will you stand up wherever you are if you're in here in the room? There you are. I wanted to point to, we're in Oklahoma, so I'm going to take the liberty to introduce some of these guys and gals as they're here, and then also provide an opportunity for y'all to put a face with the name and be able to catch them while you're here and visit with them about what we're doing in Oklahoma, because we don't have time to cover it all here today. Then also Harry Fritzler. I saw Harry here today earlier. There's Harry in the back, so be sure to catch Seth and Harry. And then Ken G. I know Ken's around here somewhere. Yep, there's Ken. So, and then is John Mustaine here? I haven't seen John today. Okay, I don't think he's here. And then Daryl Putman. Is Daryl here? Okay, well, there's two. So we've got three of our regional coordinators here today, so please visit with these guys about what they're doing in Oklahoma as well. And then our local coordinators, Carl Bunch. I know Carl's here. Carl, if you'll stand, please. Carl's been very active within the Prescribed Burn Association, and we're glad to have him as a local coordinator. And then Chad Shying. I haven't seen Chad. Is Chad here? Okay, I think he's going to be coming tomorrow. And I know Cooper's here. I saw Cooper earlier. Cooper Sherrill. Cooper is up with an association up in northeastern Oklahoma, and we're glad to be able to have these individuals on. So be sure and visit with all these folks, like I said, before this event is over. And then we also were able to kind of help all of us straight on the board with the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association. We asked Katie Shying to help us with keeping all the records and things that we're responsible for turning in, keep that straight. So we've got somebody to help us with that, which we're very fortunate to have as well. The board of directors, I think I'm on. Yes, board of directors. John Weir is the president of the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association. John, if you stand up, I think everyone probably knows you, but I'll make you stand up anyway. And then I'm the vice president and secretary. And then our board of directors, you can see them all listed up here. I think, I know Steve Glasgow is here. Steve, where I saw Steve earlier today. There he is in the back. You going to stand up, Steve? Everybody else stood up. There we go. We're glad to have Steve on board too with our board of directors. So he's another one you can visit with about what's happening in Oklahoma. Is Alva Gregory here? Did I see him earlier? Okay. And I don't think the rest of them have made it here either. But these guys and gals are very active and very supportive of prescribed fire in Oklahoma, and we're very glad to have them. We have 22 local prescribed burn associations in Oklahoma currently. We've formed 2 new ones recently. Some have fell off. Not all of these 22 are as active as others. Some of them are a little bit more than just name only, but we're working on, that's some of the tasks that we have with our coordinators to help out, is to get all these associations more active with prescribed fire. We have 36 of 77 counties represented in Oklahoma with these burn associations. I wanted to jump real quick about to mention the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Entry Form Report, or the OPBA, I should say, Prescribed Burn Entry Form Report. And what I want to talk about next is just burns that are reported for the state of Oklahoma, and then close out with a little bit of an explanation of that this is open for everyone. But this data is really, it's very important. We've used it several times. We've used it with an interim study at the state capitol. We've used it with insurance companies. It's very positive information so far that's been reported. And again, just looking at Oklahoma, here's a list of what's being done. This was a summary of 2017. Obviously don't have 18 summarized yet, but the total number of acres burned that were reported burned anyway was 22,000, a little over 22,000. You can see that, and you can see the range from 4 acres to 3,000, a little over 3,000 acres, and then what months those fires were conducted in. And so John does a good job of sorting out all this data that's reported on the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association website. Is where you can go and log on to find this form. And we encourage everybody to do that in the state. And then you can see here, the next slide, the prescribed burn associations. We've had 15 prescribed burn associations report burning on that form out of our 22. Other associations have done some burning, but they just didn't report it. We're working on that. And then you can see the number of acres that each one of those associations have reported burning. And then the number of counties in Oklahoma that those prescribed burns occurred in. I'll just leave that up there for a second. You can see had several counties within the state that prescribed burns were implemented in. And then the next slide there is why the landowners or the entities anyway that we're reporting. It's not just landowners. It's NGOs and others. I'll get to that in a minute, but. You see livestock production, cedar control, wildlife habitat, all the things that you really would think that landowners or individuals or entities were looking at why they're implementing prescribed fire. And then you can see the type of vegetation that was reported to be present on each burn, and then the number of, or if cedar was present, or the number of burns that cedar was present on, and then the cedar type that was present, whether it was live or whether it was already cut and they were trying to burn up skeletons. And then spot fires, that's recorded too. They self-report any spot fires that they had, and you can see that there were 9 spot fires out of all those burns that were reported in Oklahoma. And then the size of the spot fire has also been broken out, that you can see that none of them were over 10 acres. And then escape fire, there was only 3 of those, and you can see there was one, I think it is, that none of them were over 100 acres. So, and then the type of, same thing with the escape fire, with spot fire, on how that's reported too. And then any smoke issues, there was just one smoke issue, and then the big deal there is that there was no insurance claim involved in any of those fires, and there was no lawsuit involved with any of those fires in Oklahoma in 2017. And then weather conditions. On the right slide there. Does that say weather conditions, John? Okay. Weather conditions, you see that these are kind of the cumulative average anyway of what the temperatures and relative humidities and wind speeds were, just some science or the weather data behind all the burns that were reported. The number of people that were present on the burn, as well as the fire break types that these burns were reported to use. So quite a lot of good data and information there that we're able to mine from from this report. And then the next slide here is just a reminder to everyone. There is also a report which I don't have time to present. John has it too. I've got a copy of it, but it's a report with everyone anywhere in the United States that wants to report shows up, and that's this is just a general summary of that. There was 352 burns additionally, in addition to what was reported in Oklahoma. And then you can see the states that those reports came from, and then the type of organization that was represented in those additional reports. And so, that's we have that summarized as well, and we encourage everyone to report these burns. Again, going to the Oklahoma Prescribed Burn Association webpage and turn that in. And if you want to report, you can holler at John or myself, and we can get you that report as a summary each year. And so, again, there's a website for OPBA. Encourage you to log on to it and look at it. There's a lot of other good information on there too.